Above average black men shining like the sun with Chris Sr., Chris Jr. Devin on the beat, we're telling stories from the heart. Feel the pulse in the heat. Yo! Into the room, we bringing that vibe, highlighting kings and queens who thrive and survive. From the corner of the block, making dreams come true. We elevate the voices, yes, you know how we do. Chris Sia got the wisdom, laying down the facts. Chris Jr. with the passion. Push us to relax. Living brings the power.
Y'all can see me?
Yeah.
This is the camera going to work.
Journey through laughter and tears, celebrating achievements, confronting our fears. We interview the dreamers, the doers, the straight hustlers, inspiring the youth. Yeah, we raising up these brothers, positive vibes only.
Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly is Chris Pender Sr.
Chris Jr. is always here to empower, inspire, and uplift.
And Pender, here to remind y'all to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. Hope they can see me.
He's showing off now. Now he in a rocking chair. Just yeah, we see you loud and clear. Chris just said it's so bright when you are, and it's cloudy around here.
It looks like you somewhere where it's warm.
Yeah, it looks like you on the beach somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I'm on the beaches of West Philadelphia. No.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
West Philadelphia. Sick.
Yo, but what we're talking about today is I'm gonna get right into identity crisis in America. We have this show is, let me say this, we're not here to offend anybody. I will make that abundantly clear. We're not.
You gotta put a disclaimer at the top.
Oh, because I know how people get sensitive. They get real sensitive, man. So I just want to make sure this is simply dealing with the fact that we have so much confusion of who we are. We got men trying to be women, women trying to be men. We got a whole generation of kids who don't have a clue who they are. You don't have a clue who they are, man. And in between, we got politicians who are this day, this the next day. It's just like what the song says, like a ball of confusion. Yeah. And it's like growing. I talk to people, and it's like the sense of identity is gone. And now I know why the sense of pride is gone, because you got a bunch of folk who just don't know who they are. And it's, and we talk about it. Even when I talk to some women now, it's like we had these conversations, because I'm always on research, and they got this clear clad thing, what they want. These are my standards. But then when you start asking questions about them, it's like they think they do. They deserve patience. They gotta grow. They gotta, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I just begin to realize, like, man, we got a lot of lost folk in this country.
Yeah,
we got a lot of lost folk in this country.
I think that idea of kind of what you were saying of us being lost. I think we're in a transition period in, I think, society.
That's what you call it?
Yeah.
I go with that.
I think we are, because we had a point in time where I think, granted, America has had its issues always, but I think still it was a little bit more kind of clarity or sense of hope in some areas. But now it's just I feel like it's no guidance, and people are just all over the place. I think we used to have a sense of whether it was religious pride or just pride as a country. I just feel like a lot of those things are starting to kind of deteriorate and fall apart at the seams, and that ultimately to me is the root of us kind of going down this path of not having an identity in so many ways. I feel like we said it on this show before of where it is just dudes turning into women and women are turning into dudes, and not just from a physical standpoint, but just kind of how people are it's just I said this last show. I think women have assumed all the worst qualities of men, and men have assumed certain qualities of women that it's just it's not appeasing, and I don't think it's not necessarily something that's been beneficial for us as a society.
Well, roles have definitely shifted. And I think they've shifted more because of the influence of social media. They shifted more because of, just not knowing who you are. And when you don't know who you are, you start looking for stuff to become. And more often than not, you look for what's popular, not what's right. Like the whole, and it's funny because a lady said this to me today, so this is not me, this is a woman speaking. She said, this whole, when the women started fighting for equal rights, kind of just turned things topsy-turvy because the initial fight for equal rights wasn't what it is today. They were fighting for equal rights, not to be equal, not to be treated like men, and now it's turned into, if a man can do it, I can do it kind of thing. Yeah, not I should earn as much as a man, not I should be, judged same, merit as a man. Now it's like, tick for tat. And I think you have it. Yeah. And I think what you see now is
be better than us.
Yeah. Like I'm talking, I talk to kids, I talk to young men, and they just, they struggle because their sense of identity. Even when it comes to what it means being African American. I mean, the little small stuff that we take for granted because they don't know their history. Nobody's teaching them their history. Some of the role models they have are totally lost. So the confusion chain just goes on. And if you look at, again, and I don't want to keep pulling politics into it, but right now politics is really leading the way in the confusion in this country because one day, and you got politicians all for this, all for that. The next day, all for this, all for this. Yeah, the was popular, and I think that's what the TV, unfortunately, the media is kind of raising this generation. It's become the Bible, it's become the information hub, it's become all those things. And plus, I think education has a lot to do with it because you're teaching this one size fits all education now.
Yes.
Is no more that, the separate identities, make up the country. It's so many things that I'm just shaking my head because I talk to adults who are totally lost, and we start talking about the voting rights. It's kind of that, the voting rights is going to turn stuff around. And a number of people who have no idea what that is, what that means, or when they say stuff like, it ain't going to impact me. Man, I'm paying $5 for gas now. It doesn't.
I think we got a problem where just people are, we lack the idea of critical thinking and innovation and creativity. All those things over the past few years have been stifled. And like slowly, even with freedom of speech now, like they are taking certain things away from us, or like just kind of slowly kind of dousing these things down. And I think it ultimately is impacting like how people are showing up in certain spaces. Like a lot of us are sheep. A lot of people are just waiting. It's true. It's like, and I've heard you say that, your brother, but a lot of people really are like that, where it's just kind of, they wake up and they just kind of fall in line and go with what they think, quote unquote, the status quo is. And I think like even for just thinking about our youth, like they can't even think outside of like, I want to be a TikToker. I want to be these things. I want to be like, it used to be this idea, when you were a kid, it was like, yo, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer,
but they
like
even dress
astronaut. It's like now it's smaller and smaller, shrinking size.
I want to be a streamer. I want to be a rapper.
Yes. But they want to be dressed like you. You didn't do that.
The uniform.
Yeah, now it's like they dress alike, they talk alike. It's a bunch of many me's. And even when you talk to them on like, sometimes you may talk to them about serious topics, they say pretty much the same stuff. And that's the critical thing. The uniformity, I was talking about. Or what he said. That's the response. So like, I'm gonna do a show with them. We don't get them on the show because I really got to talk to this next generation.
The critical thinking part is, I feel like a massive piece of like this identity crisis here, because I think it's like people have fallen into this place of like you being spoon fed this information. You're not really questioning things and try to figure it out for yourself. And like we allowing for our kids to like let people put you in this box of like, this is your life, like you're another statistic that's going to go, like we were just kind of talking about this related to basketball, the idea of like statistics that, yes, they exist, like numbers, they kind of paint these pictures, but you don't necessarily have to abide or live by those numbers, like the Sixers and the Celtics last series. Stats say you shoot these threes, you got a better chance of winning the game. You know what I mean? And everybody thinks you're supposed to fall in line with that motto or that mode, but you know, it ain't about just shooting the threes. You got to make it, and you also got to kind of also the defense that's out there. Worry about that, or the other team scoring and how they get buckets, like all these other things. The heart side of it, you know, that gets some passion, which also gets us, I feel like, to where we are in society.
Analytics.
Yeah, but analytics, I feel like, has kind of again stifled growth.
It does because. First of all, analytics have taken over every part of life. It's not just sports; it's in dating. You see, in all kinds of stuff.
Now people just think it's impossible.
Everybody goes to analytics. Everybody throw the numbers in it.
Yeah.
But when I look at people, I look at and you know what? I'll start with African American men. I'll start there. There used to be such a strong sense of pride in who we were. You know, we spoke to each other. That since we were proud about the unity we had, and there was always fractions and people fighting, and I get that. So I'm not being naive enough to think that that's not happening. You know, it wasn't happening, but it was like. Community stuck together. You know, where I grew up at, we had a network and we stuck together. And, you know, I still got friends now. Since kindergarten to first grade, we looked out. For,
Devin got that though too.
When
did it stop?
But we looked out for each other. I'm not saying it stopped. I'm just saying it's not as much now.
I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, and the loyalty is not there. Like my friends would not let me do something stupid. That's just we didn't do. You know, we didn't allow. You know, we just looked out for each other. Now they do, and I think
we all do something stupid.
And we wanted to be different. Now they want to be alike. You know, there's no challenge to be, you know, and it's funny because, you know, it's like in the NBA where everybody's on the super team now. We wanted to beat them back when we were growing up. We wanted to beat the best team. You know, and I think it's so
build what we got here. Like we going to be those guys that you want to chase.
But even in relationships, you know, because I do the parenting father programs and even in relationships, it's shifted. You know, it's like guys are saying now, you know, they don't let me lead because they challenge me in everything. In everything. Like, you say they talking to their friends. They want this guy to have all this gumption and this tenacity and be a leader, but you challenge me in everything. You know, and then what a lot of them say is, we talk about this all the time, you know, the roles have switched because they should say that men don't listen. Now, most guys are saying the same thing. They start a conversation, and 5 minutes into the conversation, they end up talking about her.
Yeah, you know what it is? Because I feel like, I don't know if you're going to take us down a roll here, but like a lot of women have, like, I think, moved into this space of having like a superiority complex, you know? Like,
yes.
I'm this, I can do all of these things, and completely blind to all of the areas in which they be lacking in. You know, they allow for their friends. Good, what did you about to say?
When you said like, you know how they'll throw that whole stat, like, you know, like one of the most educated, you know, on the most homes. That feeds into your point of like the whole superiority complex. I think they're better than a black man.
But that's part of what happened to just to being equal. You know what I mean? And it's almost like, to your point, they want to be the breadwinner. You know, they want to call the shots.
But they want the traditional benefits of being taken care of still. It's so
like,
crazy.
You know, and I'm riding this morning and I'm riding past just the store, man, and you see people standing out front, and you see a bunch of people, you know, and I'm not gonna get into it, trying to be something they're not. You know what I mean? And it's like, how did we get here where that's popular now? That's common now. You know, and the problem with it is we're raising kids just like that. We're raising a bunch of kids who don't have an identity.
I mean,
they just kind of going through this whole thing called life, just fitting in.
The adults are part of the problem.
Oh, they're a big part of the problem. That's what I was talking about adults standing outside the store. I wasn't talking about kids. I was talking about adults.
The adults want to be the kids.
Yeah.
Like that is, I think, I don't know when that shift happened. I like to blame Jay-Z when he said 30, when he said 30's the new 20. It just set everybody back. Like everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm 20 years old," and they just stuck there. Like, so I just really feel like the adults want to be kids, that they just want to be in the mix, and then the other kids is out here raising themselves. Like, they don't have no guidance. We looking at them like,
that's exactly what happened. Well, but to your point, because we got role reversals now, we got parents negotiating with kids. I got parents asking kids, your kid is failing the class, and you're asking if they want to come to the summer program. What do you mean? You do fail in the class. You know, it's like what happened to the parent? the roles have just shifted so much that you see, you'll see a guy and a woman together, and she's doing all the talking. He's not saying a word. And I'm like, yo, when you want to speak up for your kid, you're supposed to be leading your family. And I'm not saying you lead with an iron fist, but you know what I mean? You just kind of, even when I have kids and I go do research to talk to other adults about them, it's the same story.
I mean, because some of them is like that. This is another thing too. Like, I feel like you hear sometimes. Not saying this is all women, but like there's also that superiority complex when it comes to the kids. Like, this is my child. And I think that part.
Yeah, but if that's your child, do the right thing by your child. That's all. If you would sit there and say, "This is my child," then nobody should say anything. Then you should be saying
the right
stuff.
thing sometimes is that they be in their feelings, man.
No, I agree with you 200%. But don't be sitting there telling me that's my child. You want to say that's my child, but you're not raising it.
Let me play my part.
But even if somebody's talking to you and you're trying to help correct the child, and the mom's going to say that it's my child. Okay, well, do the things you need to do to be the parent. So what you see is you see a role reversal. You see people with no respect for authority. You see people with no respect for self. You raising a group of people who don't have a sense of identity. You ask them. Kid told me today, man. I just come to school because I have to come to school. School is last in my life. Too. But you can do the rest of it. You know what I mean? This is the stuff I hear from kids. And then when you talk to other adults, their parents are allowing this to happen.
I was just about to say that.
Their parents are allowing this to happen.
What are the conversations with the parents when it comes to like school and the importance of it? Like, is it one of those things where they're saying like you just got to go because this is what you got to do, or is it like are you talking about the importance of it? Like,
no, you got to go because I got to go to work.
Yeah,
that's what it's more like. It's like I got to go to work and you ain't gonna be home by yourself. So I asked this group of kids a hypothetical question. I said, hey, let me ask you a question. Middle school kids, your parents leave you home by yourself and they're away, and they told you absolutely no company. You cannot have company at all, and you hear discussion back and forth, and you hear people slowly start to talk the other kids into it. First of all, most of them think, nah, my parents would kill me, and then my parents got a camera, and somebody says, well, what if you had your girlfriend over? And you see more guys say, "Oh yeah, that's not a whole bunch of people." And then somebody says, "Well, hypothetically speaking, suppose you see a car circling your house. First of all, you live in Cheltenham, ain't no car circling your house. But anyway, they say if you see a car, what about?" And and I'm watching these kids just be swayed over. I'm watching this group, right, just all trending towards, just being defiant. And I'm sitting there, so I'm like, wow, this is what happens on the day. They start out trying to do the right thing, but they get swayed over. And the other group, I said, okay, you get this test, and some kind of way you come up with all the answers for the test. Would you use the answers for the test? Same thing. They start talking, and most of the group, then one guy, he says, well, what if the test is hard? So then I said, luckily this whole group didn't sway over, but I could see other people in the group changing their mind.
Yeah, this is a tough test. I don't know.
It was changing their mind. So I said, well, dishonesty is dishonesty. And so you see this trend where they're so easily talked into stuff. And it's like, I don't know who I am, so I got to be this to impress somebody. Or I'll have a group and one kid to come in and change the dynamic of the whole group. Group be serious, great discussion. One silly kid to come in and you watch the dynamic change. Man, and it just happens.
That's kind of crazy. Crazy how you would wish that like if that kid used like his leadership capabilities for a positive thing, he could probably affect so much.
That's what I said, man. Use your superpower for good, not evil.
I mean, but they don't know that. They don't understand sometimes even the power that they have in terms of being a leader and being able to influence people. Because they don't have nobody to even show them how to do that or what that even is. So I mean, I've seen it and been in situations like that as a coach. You got a kid that is like just kind of high energy. I'll say that, he kind of want to do his own thing sometimes, but everybody else listens to him. They think he's funny or whatever. Take that kid, put him up, and it's like, yo, now you get people to fall in line and doing the right things. And now automatically by default, he kind of liked that idea of being up front. He didn't like feeling disrespected, you know what I mean? And people not listening to him. So he got to get that, practice of like how to deal with that and get people to kind of listen and abide. And then he kind of formed a whole new respect of how he treats people because he's been in a leadership position.
But that's another thing that changed, Chris. These kids don't want to be in a leadership position. They think something's wrong with it. You try to put them in a position. It's cheap. Simple instructions. In my mind, I already had my mind made up. I had them do, the first thing I do is put a skit together, all the topics we cover. You pick 3, put a skit together. And I said, I need one person to get a name, write everybody's name down, and give it to them. Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to give them all something. One group followed instructions. The other group never did. Never did. Then one kid said, I'm going to do it. He wrote a couple names down, and I heard the other kids start laughing, so he balls the paper up through the middle of the table. So when it's over, I'm like, look, okay, you know what? I was going to give all y'all something, but you know what? That group right there, I'm going to take care of. Except 2 kids, because one kid kept putting his hood on, kept telling him to take his hood on. One kid kept trying to go to sleep. But I'm sitting there thinking, like, how easy, to your point, they're swayed. Like in a matter of seconds, they're changing direction, because of what somebody said. And I just find it so ironic that if you look at, to your point, the parents are like that. I'm in a shelter doing this workshop in the shelter on Monday. So I'm talking to somebody, and we were talking about mental health and some kind of way we got on politics or whatever. And dude was like, well, I don't vote, because it don't matter. Okay, well, help me understand why it don't matter. So we get to discussions. And so I know he's repeating stuff that somebody said because his vocabulary is not there. When somebody's talking, they're not using their vocabulary.
You heard it before.
Yeah, you talk to him every day, or you see him every week, and he's talking. So I said, okay, well, if it doesn't matter, why do you think they're trying to redistrict? Because why do you think they're trying to take your vote away? And he just repeats what he said. And right away I'm thinking, you know what? And this is my Stephen A. Smith reference. That's the first person I thought about how. I think people really believe if they say something long enough and loud enough that you will change your mind.
Yeah.
I think they really believe that.
People don't listen.
Yeah. I think
Look at our president. I think that's the time we're in. Enough people say something loud enough, even it's wrong, you're going to get some people.
That's the play, the game play.
But that's the perfect example, because I hear people, I'm watching this thing, right? And I hear him talking. So it's this young Caucasian kid who's, he's Democrat, he's real smart. He researches everything, sticks and everything. So he's on there with this young girl. So the young girl starts out by saying how bad Biden was. You saw it? And how bad Biden was and all this stuff. So dude is giving her facts and numbers. And she's still saying nobody's talking about, well, President Trump said. And I'm like, what? And he kept saying, no, look at research. And he was giving her all these stats and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, to your point, have we really become sheep? Have we really gotten to the point in our lives where somebody says something that resonates with us and we don't even care what the truth is? We're just going to repeat it to the day we die.
TV is not about being right or wrong. It's about just entertaining people. Because even when I've seen it too many times by now where you can pull out all the stats and be right in a situation or question, but they just refuse to just kind of acknowledge the truth. And it ain't about like, they know what the truth is. That's actually the funny part about it to me. They know the truth, but it's just like, I can't acknowledge this and say this out loud publicly in front of people. I kind of had to hold on to this because it's really ego, honestly. Some of these people know deep down that it's wrong and it's stupid.
Well, let's look at it this way. We're paying $5, $4.55 for a gallon of gas now. We stopped at Wendy's the other day to get something quick. It cost me $24 for 2 burgers, for a hamburger and a cheeseburger, no fries, no soda. This is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. So like now I'm about to get off that beat. So we're talking about it, right? But then you hear people who say, oh, it's not that bad because it's the Democrats keep talking about the economy. And I'm saying to myself, if I'm making $7 an hour, minimum wage, I'm working just to put gas in my car.
Crazy.
Yeah. It cost me $60, $57 to fill up the truck. For $60, I used to be able to fill up the truck and the car. So it's crazy. But when I hear people talk and they're repeating the rhetoric about the truth, it's like, how? And then, or we spend $1 trillion for this war, and he wants us to pay for this ballroom that he tore down illegally and rebuild, and people are okay with that. I'm like, what's going on here?
Every moment.
Yeah.
It's like, but that ballroom though.
And he's suing us. He is suing us. You know, he's suing his own country for $10 million and the Treasury Department. Yeah, I'm like, what's going on here? You know, I'm just shocked at the amount of people who just, you know, think this is okay.
We are sheep. It's like when I go to the airport, I remember one time I was there standing in line like with the TSA, and like I'm looking and it's all these people just keep filing into this one long line. And it's a short line right there next to it. Then nobody's going in. And the TSA agent is sitting there like trying to get people to go.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
And everybody just keeps standing in this, choosing to stand in this long line. And I'm just like, forget it. Start cutting past people and walk to the front. Because I'm like, what are we doing? Like, either you're not paying attention or you're too scared to step out and do something.
That's it right there.
And that's the analogy of it, of like, it's just like standing in that line. And it's not enough people that's willing to step outside the line right now. It's crazy.
No, but that is the perfect analogy, because I see the guys up there calling people left and right, and everybody looking around, and nobody wants to be the first one. Nobody wants to be the first one. You know, and everybody look at each other, you know, and then soon you go, everybody starts shooting.
Everybody going behind you.
So
now.
That's the perfect analogy. That's the perfect.
I've been in that situation so many times,
and
I remember just saying it to the TSA agent, like, "Yo, these people are sheep. Like, I don't understand why nobody would just kind of walk over here, seeing that it's clear as day, like, you know." But it's just that fear of maybe stepping out there and like you go up there and the lady's like, "Hey, you actually need to go back." Like, I understand that's a big chance, but you know, if you're paying attention and you're just willing to step out there, most times it's going to be okay. You know, it's going to be okay. It's not going, like, I've had opportunity, like just in the airport, just a prime example again. You know, you step out there, you go through people. People are actually a lot nicer than you think sometimes.
You know my philosophy, 85%.
Yeah, but it's like they just waiting for somebody to kind of break past that tough exterior sometimes, because you know it's so much going on that puts people in that mode. But like, you know, when you kind of can get past that, I don't know. I think you can win some people over.
But it's like me. And I use McKenzie as an example. You know, McKenzie got his dress cut. He got a haircut.
I know. He loved his haircut.
Yeah, he wanted to get a haircut. I mean, I
was surprised that he was all for it.
Yeah, but when I dug a little deeper with some other stuff that I kind of felt, you know, that we got to make sure, because he got teased a little bit
for his hair.
Yeah, and that's what you know. Mom was telling me.
He looked like a girl.
So, yeah, and one was a Caucasian kid, one was a black kid. So that I get you want to get a haircut, but at the same time, don't do it because of that. And he's young; he don't know. But so I'm encouraging him now, though, to understand that you know, like I had him repeating this morning. You raised by a village who love you, and you raised by a strong village. I need him to know that. I need him to know that, you know, even when he makes his decisions and the right decisions, that he got people with him, that he's not alone. But I think so many people, to your point, have this fear of being the first one or being by themselves, that they they go along, they just be quiet. They go along with it. They just do.
Being by themselves, I feel like that's a perfect,
I
guess, like key phrase right there. Like no one wants to be that first person, to be that lone person to believe something.
Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of out there by yourself.
But I always wanted to be different. I never sat back and said, hey, you know, I want to be like this dude, my neighbor. I want to be like this dude. That just was something I never, you know, aspired. You know, you see some people say, man, that's pretty cool, man. You know, but just to sit back and just say you want to follow somebody, I don't get that. I just don't. And it's maybe because I grew up, man, where most of us were alphas, so we just always went at it. Yeah, we just always went at it. You know, I was probably the nicest
alpha,
but you know, but now it's just different. And when I'm in these schools, you see the difference. You know, you see more female teachers, and I say this all the time. I applaud teachers, but some of them give sympathy and not empathy. So you're not really teaching these boys anything. You feel sorry for them, but you're not teaching them anything. They're not learning that, that, you know, that it's okay to be different.
Bring back discipline.
Yeah, they're not. They're about to get us in trouble now. But even that, and it's funny because I see more.
Look at that cat.
I see more articles, right, about that. that why am I looking at a cat?
I know, Dev. You flipped your camera, Dev.
You do that.
You know, I just don't. I'm lost there when I see things going on, man, and I'm thinking, and the handwriting's on the wall. You see how society is. You know what I mean? It's not like you don't see what's happening, but it's almost like it's just being ignored. You know, and school has become an anomaly. And I say it to kids all the time. It's an anomaly. It's not real because these kids go through school with no consequences. They go through school thinking it's okay to be a drone, to just fit in and be like everybody else. You know, do what everybody else is doing. And I, you know, like what happened to teaching people to be individuals? What happened to teaching people to be the best version of you?
You said philosophy in school. I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
I don't know what they have, but I have no idea. But I know they need it because I'm in the class today with some kids, man. I'm talking to this kid today, right? And typically he's a good kid. But this other kid came today and he was totally off the hook. So I'm like, yo, what's going on?
He's around his friend.
Yeah, but you know, and I'm trying to get him to realize, like, yo, when you by yourself, we don't have this problem. This dude come for the first time, you know. So I'm like, okay, well, what kind of grades is this dude getting? So now he's looking at me, but you following him, you know. And it's almost like charisma, personality, you know, characteristics that we like lead us now as a common sense, you know, right or wrong. You know, I'm in a discussion. I say, hey, some college kids told me right or wrong is all relevant now, thinking that I'm, you know, they agreed. So what do you mean? What do you mean it's relevant? It's all relevant now. And then again, one person says it, and everybody's, you know, you see the room slowly swaying. You see the people that was absolutely saying no, you see them all say, yeah, you see the hair start to shake a little bit, you know, and oh yeah. It's
like then they start going with the crowd.
Yeah.
You know?
But what happened to just being your own person?
I mean, it was, I don't know.
People afraid to get laughed at, make fun of, or that possibility.
Being judged. People want to do is trending. I think that's.
Oh, so you think that's it?
Yeah. I think people want to fit in and be part of a trend. The idea of followers, that's a whole other thing. Like, you know, I don't know. It's just.
Well, it's funny. So let's look at that. But look at the word itself.
I know.
Followers.
I said, and trending.
Yeah, but followers speaks for itself.
The design of everything is.
No, I agree. That's a great point. But if I'm listening to that and I'm being referred to as a follower, I got a problem with that.
But that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I know. But who wants to be known as a follower?
I don't think people don't even think about it like that.
No, I agree again. They don't.
It's funny.
But I don't want to be known as a follower.
I'm a follower of, almost like a disciple of him, you know?
I don't want to, yeah. But it's funny you said, but it is. And even when I find myself talking to adults, you know, when a grown person says, I did it because so-and-so did it. You are 30 years old.
I saw it on TikTok.
Well, I ain't gonna get into that. You know, the way they dress and the way they act. Yeah, it's like, yo, but you're 30 years old. And you're talking to me, you're telling me you did this because another adult did this. I just don't get that.
That's actually kind of interesting to think about. Like people who actually like are living their lives based off of trends and things that they see offline. You know what I mean? It's not even like your own personal experience anymore.
Living through celebrities.
Yeah.
But back in the Stallion and Clay Top, that whole situation just insane.
I was just about to say that I don't think people aspire to live their own lives anymore. I think they want to be like everybody else. They want to be like the rich and the famous. You know, they want to be, you know, even though they're not. Just think about the person who got into this subject too. So I've been covering a lot of subjects, why people buy stuff they can't afford to impress people.
Yeah. Or people be like they can't go somewhere because they don't know anybody else that went there yet.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true too.
What?
That's absolutely true too.
Like go experience life for yourself, by yourself. Make your own choices, decisions, and.
But if you're not taught that, how do you break that cycle? That's the question.
Because it's like seeing reviews online too. You know, like some of these reviews. I said this. I was like, I think we need our own Black Yelp. You know, like sometimes you go on there.
You got Yeppy.
You can call it yours.
The food. I'm like, who put this?
That's funny.
Like, yo, this is not true. It was not seasoned. It was not cooked well. This is not one of the most flavorful things that I had. and then you see a picture of some white guy. Like it's like, okay, wrong person to actually look up and take this review of. But I think like it's just people really be online like making decisions based off of other people's opinions. Like I've certainly been to places where it's like I read a review and it's like this is and I go and I'm like, oh, this is okay. But then that person's personal review is really based off the fact that like, oh, the waiter, I didn't like how they did this, or I didn't like how this person said that, and it had
They
nothing
use
to do
paper
with
straws.
the straw. They got paper straws. Like it's just I don't know. We live in a world where it's just kind
I
of
hate paper straws.
yeah, but we live in a world where everybody's free to have an opinion.
That's my pet peeve.
And we
Paper
take
straws.
those opinions way too much. Like we take those opinions and thoughts of people way too seriously.
But you
don't even make your own conclusions.
But you see it in every era of life. Like this whole thing now, and like I'm laughing at this thing about Jalen Hurts now because somebody saw him by himself in the Super Bowl, and they started this whole rumor about how he's not tough, isolated, and every single person is saying something different. But this one person took one picture and ran with it, and people believed it. People started repeating it. Or another thing, okay, and this is Shady and all of them did this. He can't throw over the middle. Well, they brought the stats out. He throws well over the middle. And he throws one deep balls. The problem is they don't throw over the middle a lot.
It's cool to say.
Yeah, they don't. He doesn't throw over the middle a lot, and they weren't counting the drop passes, all the stuff that's going on. So I'm laughing because, but that's how you repeat. That's what happens in society now. I get something that sounds good and it sounds right. I don't research it. I just repeat it. They got Stephen A. Smith, this other black dude on there saying, one guy said the Sixers are not going to win a game against Boston. They're not. They ain't going to win a game. Guarantee it. Stephen A. Smith, they may win one game. Guarantee it. And people just start repeating this. Go ahead, Devin. You got dark all of a sudden. I don't know what you did with the light, but
I was gonna say that definitely is one thing. The thing with, and I did see the video with Stephen A. Smith. It's just funny how like you said, like I feel like they don't even care that they're going to be wrong. Like it's like what's that whole adage of like care about journalism? They just want to be the first person being right. So I feel like that goes in line with what you're saying.
Yeah, but I think, and I know this is stupid, but where's your responsibility to the truth? And I know he's the highest paid guy and so forth, and he got there by being a loudmouth black dude. That's really why he got there. But at some point, don't you want credibility? At some point
anymore.
You're right. To me, he a lot of sports guys like to weather people now. They don't care if they're wrong. They don't care if they think it's going to be 80 degrees and sunny and it rains all week long. They don't care. They don't care if they predict it's going to be 5 feet of snow and you get sunshiny. And the thing about it is it's a microcosm of what's happening in society. That we have a society that's the same way. That we just go along to whatever is happening, we do. We don't pay attention. We don't research. We don't seek the truth. We just go with it. Especially in our community, we just take it. We run with it, and then there's no retraction. There's no I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said this. We just go. Like I look at all the people who said don't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a female. Now you don't hear anything. You don't hear a word. But they were loud then. And like there's a couple rappers, I'm not gonna say the names, and other rappers are calling them out now saying, yo, you up there talking about how don't vote for her, you lead the march against her, but where you at now? So it's just interesting how, but they know people follow them. They know that. They know because of their name, people just gonna jump on board. And I go back to my original question. How do you think we got here? How do you think we got to a place where I'm just gonna follow somebody? Even if it don't make sense.
We've been lulled to sleep.
You don't like to think.
We just been
think for themselves. So much easier just to follow.
Lulled to sleep. Like this idea, sold this dream of like just the ease of, information and ease of getting certain things. And I think we reached a point where, I don't know, just kind of slowly but surely just kind of been turning into zombies and allowing for them to just kind of embed our minds with nonsense. and just have us
I like both
kind of
those
losing sight of just kind of like you said, our identities in a sense. Like I really do feel like people are hypnotized.
I like both those points. I think both those are excellent points. But so what do you think is leading to it? Is it see me? And I hate to say it, but I think what we listen to, what we consume, plays a large part.
Yeah,
You know, because our sense of truth now comes from social media and the media. It does.
They playing with our
You know,
human nature.
and but you can't even trust the news now. Like I'm watching the news the other day. Your mom watches the news. So I'm watching it, and they play a tape of this guy, and his remarks were wrong. His remarks were wrong. He talked about black people, about black children should be, adopted by white parents and all kind of stuff like this. Yeah, it's crazy guy. This guy, the secretary of whatever his name is, the guy, the Kennedy dude. So I'm watching it. So then the guy comes on, huh?
Robert Kennedy. About Robert Kennedy.
Yeah. So because he says black because black.
I need to look at this.
So well, they played the tape, but he didn't say.
That's crazy.
But it was funny because when they were reporting it, listen to what he says very carefully. He says every black kid. He didn't say every. He was wrong, but he didn't. You know what I mean? He didn't say every black kid. And he shouldn't have said it. Period. But it just, I'm like, yo, how you take this and you just got finished hearing it and you turned it around to sensationalize it to like you talking about all black people. It was wrong, but I'm like, yo, and I wonder how many people hear that. How many people hear what he said, just ignore what the guy said. Or Trump.
I do that all the time now.
Yeah. Well, I just saw
it's funny when you brought up the sports analogy. Every summer you would they talk about the three same quarterbacks that they talk about Lamar and they talk about Jalen Hurts. You would think those are the worst three quarterbacks in the league.
Shador is about to be in the mix this year.
Shador is definitely going to be in the mix as well too.
Of all people, I think Shannon Sharp brought that up, and him and Ocho, and they said the same thing. They said, you would think that Burrow, Josh Allen, and the dude in San Diego, what's his name?
Justin Herbert.
Yeah. You would think these guys set the world on fire, man. He said, you think these guys killed the world? They won all these Super Bowls, all these games, and they haven't. But he said the same thing, but they're not judged the same way. But I think it goes back to because we follow that, because we don't get upset when, something happens in our community, we march and then we sit down. It's over. We forget about it 3 weeks later, man. We get out there and march and do all kind of stuff, man, and then we go sit down 3 weeks later, man, we on to something else, man. We said we're going to boycott something, it lasts about a month. And then people start triggering, So I think people know that because we are followers and we don't follow the right things. We follow the person that gets up there that has material things. That's what it's almost like anything that glitters gets our attraction, whether it's right or wrong. Gets our attention. And that's what I see now. It's like if somebody gets up there and they're charismatic and they can say some things, people follow them. It ain't got to be right or wrong.
Playing around with our human nature.
Wow.
I just feel like playing with our emotions, giving us the things that people emotionally get riled up for. And like that's what I kind of was saying, like the idea of being kind of lulled to sleep. We just kind of in this state of wanting to do a lot of what feels good and none of the hard stuff.
But explain that a little further. I think it's a great term.
Well, like just
lulled to sleep. I think that's
I mean, because I think when we were talking about this idea of purpose, and just thinking about historically speaking and just over time, I think in our community or just even in society, we used to just, I feel like wasn't necessarily always right, but pouring into kids and pouring into the future and we were always just on the idea of being innovative and forward thinking and pushing and being what's next and how can we go here and how can we take things. And I felt like that was kind of a societal thing. It wasn't always kind of the best, but it was a thing where it felt like we were being progressive. We were progressing things forward. And I just feel like over time, we started to lose sight of things was what's been important. I think I've been feeling like this. We've reached peak capitalism where it's seeped into everything. Nothing can be done for the love of the game. For the passion,
everybody gotta be paid.
You gotta be paid. And I feel like it's been draining kind of just society and watering things down for just getting true art or getting things that are really pure. Because I'm into the arts, even just thinking from a music standpoint, things don't sound the same anymore. Songs are getting shorter because people have less of an attention span. We talking about different things in songs. And it's almost like people make songs that, or even with movies and TV and everything else, that fit a formula. You know what I mean? Like you want to do what you feel like, all right, well, I know people generally like this or feel this way about this. And like, I feel like we've kind of escaped this thing of like pushing the envelope and like being thought provoking and like more so, how do I fit this box to make sure that I can sell and conform and be like this?
But I think that music
no more Rage Against the Machine.
But music is an excellent point because it's like when they started calling girls H's and B's and everything, you know, and it started selling, people sold their souls for it. Because, you know, they just started repeating it.
Some of these people got wives.
Yeah, and daughters, because it was selling. But to your point, somebody found something that was a niche that worked, and people lost integrity, you know, their ability to think for themselves, and they just jumped on board and started doing it because of your point, money. They made money, you know. And then it's funny because the people behind it don't look like us.
No,
the people funding this stuff, they come into our community that destroys. I was talking to the kids.
Don't let their kids listen to it. Don't want them near around it. Like
I was talking to the kids out here today, and I said, and we were talking, and I said, because one kid, you know, and suburbs are becoming more and more to me like it's just, and I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. They just stupid. The stuff they say. So the kid goes. One kid says, we were talking about. He started talking about gun violence. How we got to figure out how to do something about it. Because I disagree. What do you mean you disagree? Well, I disagree because I think we got to protect ourselves. I said, you think all these murders, somebody protecting themselves? You know? Yeah. I said, well, do you even pay attention to what's going on right now? I said, they're robbing people, shooting people. Yo, they shooting up and down the street, killing innocent people. So I said, let me tell you the difference in neighborhoods. If I go back to my neighborhood right now, there's a billboard about vaping. Big giant billboard. You don't see that out here. If I go back to my neighborhood where I grew up at, you can go down the street and get a beer, get whatever you want from the corner store. You can't do that out here. You know, they purposely target, you know, communities like ours, but we just seem not to realize that. One kid told me every homeless person's on drugs. You can't, man, and then he started, and other kids started following behind him. Man, he's right. I'm like, yo, man, and so it's just, and again, we got the follow leader thing. And I'm just dumbfounded how, and sheep is the appropriate term. My brother used to say that to me all the time. And I say, nah, man, yo, Mike, you are right. 200% right.
That's another thing too that I think nobody volunteers anymore.
Nah.
Kids don't volunteer. And like, I think that probably was a thing before. Like just the community service was probably a lot more, I feel like, something that was happening a lot more frequently back in the day. Like
it being court ordered. I feel like you got to add that.
It was right. It wasn't court ordered.
People really wanted to do it.
Yeah, but perfect example. Guy's in the parenting class. I do a parenting class, and he's in the parenting class. And I know he's been skipping a little early. So he comes to me last week and he says, "Yo, I'm in this class. So I said, yo, I know you're in a bunch of women in here." I said, you know, I do a virtual fatherhood class. You know, you talk about joining. Yeah, man, but I'm only here because I'm court ordered. You know, I got to do this. But he said, yo, maybe you can help me out because, you know, I just took up another shift for my job. I got to leave early. And I'm thinking to myself like, yo, dude. But it tells you where his priority is. It tells you where his priority is. So I said, dude, I can't help you. You got to talk to somebody here. But that's just, we've become that we don't even, and I'm not saying all, but we don't father our kids, man. You know, we don't, even when the court orders us to do the right thing, it's still not a priority. And I'm like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. That is crazy. You know, but I see that more and more. When I have discussions with some of the ladies in the class, when I hear some of the stuff they say in the group, you know, I don't understand. And their first thing is, like, I ask this question all the time. How many of you parent the way you were parented? People raise their hand. How many of you like the way you parented? They don't raise their hand. Well, why are you doing it? Well, that's the way I was. And I tell the same story. I remember when I was doing workshops in Chester State Correctional Institute in jail, and dude told me I turned out all right. Look at me. I'm leaving at 3:00. When you leaving? But in his mind, so I think that's where we are. First, I think people think following people, no matter how bad the situation is, they think they turned out all right.
I'm leaving at 3.
They think it's okay.
Yeah.
And I see more. Look at the people in some of the poor states, man, who vote for this stuff that's hurting them.
The brookies.
Yeah, you voting for, you want to take, or the other day, I'm laughing because I'm listening to these two people argue about the Healthcare Act and Obamacare. man, this Obamacare, man, they got to stop this Obamacare, man. Like the Obamacare, man. You know, he's talking about him and his friends. They get together, they talk about how it's ruined the country and everything. So the guy said, well, what do you have? I got the free healthcare act. So the guy said, you know, it's the same thing, right? Oh, no, it's not. Oh, no. We talk about this all the time. And I'm thinking, how stupid can you be? Because the thing that's helping you, you want to get rid of because it got the black man's name attached to it. And because him and his friends talk about it, that's the absolute truth. That's the absolute truth. And, you know, and I guarantee this friend is probably less educated than he is. But he's saying, yo, yeah. And I'm listening to him like, this can't be a real conversation. But it is. And I imagine how many times it happens around the country where you get a group of people who just follow people. You know, they dislike somebody so bad that they just hear the rhetoric and they follow behind it.
It's a story as old as time.
I think you touched on it when you said capitalism, because I think that drives a lot of stuff that we see now, and regular people don't get it. That politics, man, or even marketing plays on them.
Politics and power.
But marketing plays on them as well. Mm-hmm. You know, because marketing makes these people believe that material things give you status. And they think because they have buy these material things, they have status, they have access, and they don't. You know, I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she was talking about the money, you know, that they were going to get from Trump. When Trump talked about rich people, he talking about billionaires. He ain't talking about somebody that owns a mom and pop. He's trying to destroy the middle class.
Ain't gonna be no middle class.
But we hear stuff, Chris, and it sounds good to us, so we take it. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem, man. And then we follow suit, especially if we get somebody look like us to get up there and sign off on this. Oh man,
it's part of the playbook.
But they don't know the playbook. They don't know the playbook, man. So how do we turn the tide, man? I don't know. How do we get back? Like I look at McKinsey, man. How about that, man? Like, yo, what kind of world are you growing up in, man?
Try to, as best you can, educate your kids and give them the ability to think critically. And I hate to say it, I think things unfortunately have to fall apart before you can build it back together.
Oh, Chris, I don't know how much more they got to fall apart, bro, because
it's not done. Trust.
I like, you know, and like, man, I'm getting frustrated because I keep hearing these people.
More schools to close.
Yeah, like, and I said they closed 17 schools. There was a bunch of people down there, but it should have been hundreds of people down there for 17 schools. You know what I mean? It should have been hundreds of people down there for 17 schools.
This quick news cycle where it's like, all right, what can I focus on next? Like, man, I saw the school thing, but then also next, you know, I see stories about, man, it's a shooting around the corner. It's this, that. It's like, yo, they on the block. Like, it's a helicopter over my house. I don't know if you saw that night. But it's just like, it's so much crazy stuff going on every day, it feels like.
But so
it's like hard.
But we overlooked that.
I feel like it's just hard. It's to try to get people to focus.
Think it's too much.
Yeah, I think that's almost the intent too. It's like, you know, if you keep chaos going on, you can start to.
Oh, I agree.
You taking stuff
because you don't remember this, and this will be one of our closing thoughts. When the news used to come on, right, they would always start with a feel-good story. They would back in the day. See, they would always start. They would always start. Somebody growing roses. Somebody did this. Somebody
did do that now on a Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. It was 108. It was always a feel-good story. Now. They go right, 20 people got shot. They don't even do the feel-good story. If they do it, they squeeze it someone down. Yeah, it's just that's the headline now.
There was an accident.
But we're going to take a quick commercial break. Face, come back. Get some facts later on.
Oh man, we got comments, man. I wasn't even paying attention, man.
You are what you eat. I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's such the truth, you know. Like what you put in is what comes out.
But again, and this goes back to what you said, we're being lulled to sleep by the stuff they put on, and we think is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're sitting here thinking we're enjoying this kind of stuff, and they're laughing at us. Like I remember when the book push came out, and they kept saying you don't have to send your kid to college, and you don't have to. That's your choice. But people weren't doing it because these people on TV who send their kids to college were telling them how to do it. And I'm like, no, if you come with me to good decision, you got a plan. But just because somebody said it on TV, And I see more and more.
I think people say, I hate when people say it, but don't give an alternative, like an alternative.
Because they're repeating what they heard, man.
It's just like, all right, well, then what are you going to do? I don't know. Just figure it out.
No, all right. No, okay. What kid told me, I'm gonna live in my mom's basement. You talking? I got a plan. I got a plan. I'm gonna live in my mom's basement.
I think your mom would like that.
What'd you say?
I don't think his mom would like that. Did he check with his mom?
I doubt that. Devin, some of these moms,
it's too many moms that's like, oh yeah, he can stay.
But that whole thing turned into a lively discussion. So I'm saying, okay, for argument's sake, you live in your mom's basement. So I said, what kind of woman you want to date? It's like, what do you mean? You take her home to your mom's basement. I said, well, what are you going to do for transportation? I'm going to borrow my mom's car. What kind of woman you going to date that you got to borrow your mom's car and take you? And then I had to stop and think, like, yeah, he'll find something.
I told you.
he'll find
I'm about to say, most of these women don't got cars anyway. So.
Oh, we will strike that one because we about to get in trouble. But I'm saying it, but even with that, when you talk to some women, they repeat the stuff they hear. Like I was watching this thing, and I like it. It's religious, so she talks a lot about from the biblical standpoint. But this lady came up and was asking a question about a guy, and it went from her guy to men. And I'm like, how did that happen? It was from her guy to a man, to and then the dude jumped in on it too, talking about how these men think. I'm like, yo, dude, yeah. And I'm like, so all the women cheering, they all cheering. Yeah. Like, how did we go from her guy to men?
To take one experience and like blanket statement across everybody, or because like, oh, these small group of people that have had this experience, now everybody got that experience.
But we do it a lot.
Ridiculous.
Why do we leave the pack in that? Why is it that
millions of people here?
But why is it as African Americans we leave the pack with that?
I've seen that online too. It's like, yo, I don't even think white people have these types of conversations.
We get on TV and we got somebody, all black men. We do it all the time. We get on TV, somebody says all black women. You don't know all. But we say it and we just bash each other publicly.
It's even funny to think about, like, white people, we allow them to get by and be like, well, some of them are racist, but we don't say
we're the most forgiving people in the world, man.
Like, it's crazy. It doesn't make sense. But
but it comes to me, and my how do we break the cycle? And I know we're not going to solve everything. I know we got to move on tonight, but it just troubles me because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, yo, and I do agree with you. And it's going to have to get worse before it gets better.
Yes.
Because nobody's sounding the alarm right now. Mm-hmm. Until somebody feels like the situation is bad enough, we got to start sounding the alarm. Like school is a one size fits all in school. Education is not designed to stimulate them individually. It's one size fits all. It's just kind of like an assembly line. Mm-hmm. College is kind of becoming the same thing. You just kind of follow this model and you graduate and you stream into it. A lot of churches are becoming the same thing. You come in, you just follow this routine. Every Sunday we follow this set routine, and this is what we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I come back together again on Sunday. It's like not just volunteer. That desire to have impact. It's like we want to work, but we're not working to get to produce anything. We just want to work. Yeah, we want people to see us working, and we're not trying to get change. We're not like try to get a group of guys to go read these kids in school, man. It's hard, man. All you gotta do is come read. I ain't say you gotta come in and adopt kids and just read, because they don't see us. I'm reading this one school, and the little girl says, I love you. So I'm talking to somebody, she says, you gotta understand, they're not gonna see a black teacher till they get to the 5th grade. This is kindergarten class I was reading to. I don't see a black teacher, let alone a black man. Yo, we don't know when they're gonna see one of them. That's crazy. So
crazy, bro.
And I say that as we close, like it's like we're playing Simon Says. It's like the whole world is playing Simon Says, and except we're not smart enough to realize when he don't say Simon Says. They do it, and we go out and do it, man. We just do it, man, and then we accept it. Man. So it's just as you can tell, that was my pet peeve.
Ask questions, guys. Start thinking.
But dare to be different.
Let's start getting over this surveillance. I'm not liking that at all. Cameras everywhere. Cameras in the
Let me tell you how it's done. Above average black men.
That's crazy, man.
Crazy. I just watched a Truman Show yesterday.
You living in the Truman Show.
Yeah.
So we better be watching all of it.
At least they ain't putting them bathrooms yet.
You never know. Some places that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Trust these Airbnb.
Yeah, I saw that, man. Another great show. Yeah. Another great show, man. Brothers Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Pender,
Chris Jr.
Pender, like, follow, subscribe, share.
Hey, man. And hope you like our new digs, man. This will be on Facebook. It's going to be on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Pender D AABM. Yeah, I don't know how D got there, man. But it's Pender D. Only your mom. I'm on the TV, but it's Pender D. It's Pender D AABM. And you'll get to all our videos. You better go all the way back to the Super one. I was surprised you're still on there, man. All our early shows are on there. The ones we did in the studio, all that's on there. So, but you get to see these shows. On live365.com. We're on there. That's planned. We got that in the radio. And of course, like I said, Facebook and YouTube. So we'll see you guys.